but I'm going to say maybe it was 3 to 6 months in.
Mm-hmm.
So she kept trying to get his attention in different ways, and he wouldn't talk to her, he wouldn't acknowledge her. And we were instructed to, lay out the rules, no playing with the baby, no, doing this, no doing that. And remember, kind of reminding, as you would a normal child that was in your home, of the rules. And so I would talk to the air or, the spirit, and you feel odd about that, but if that's the way you've got to live and cohabitate, in a functional way with this thing, that's what I was going to do. And Tony would have no part of it.
No, for me, this thing just needed to move on.
Right.
Yeah, after the bite, yes.
Well, Tony, you actually saw her one time, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I was working nights at the time, and I'd come home from work about 7 in the morning and just went to the refrigerator and got out some juice and poured the glass. And I just stand there at the counter, and I started to take a drink, and as I turned around, there's this little girl standing right in front of the basement door, and she was a real pretty little girl, but she had I want to call it 18th century type clothing on, like an outfit a little girl back would have wore to church. It was all white, and I remember she had a bow in her hair, and I remember her looking at me like she was almost frightened to see me, and it didn't kick in at first. My first thought was, where did this neighbor girl come from, And then it kicked in, I can see right through her. I can see the door, through her. And that's when it kicked in that I'm seeing a ghost. And it just literally, I could have passed out. I dropped the glass of juice, it shattered. As soon as the glass hit the floor, she was gone, and so was I. I was upstairs on my knees trying to wake Deb up. Like, oh my God, I saw her.
So you could see her clear as day, but she looked mostly solid, but you could still see through her. So you could see all the detail of her face, her hair, her clothes.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It was just like she was standing there, and it took a few minutes to realize that I could actually see through her and see the basement door behind her. So, and like I said, that's when it kicked in. Oh my God, I'm seeing a ghost, and I would say I probably was hyperventilating by the time I got upstairs.
Oh, and he was. The words that were coming out of his mouth, and he was so out of breath, you would have thought he ran from one end of the town to the other. The only words out of his mouth were, I saw her, I saw her, I saw her. And I'm thinking, saw who? And it didn't even dawn on me. And when he said the little girl, she was in the kitchen, and the first thought that came to my mind, not, oh my God, we should be scared, we should be leaving. My first thought was, well, how come she didn't show herself to me? I wanted to see her.
I would have thought that too. Was that the only time you ever saw her, Tony?
That was the only time I saw the little. Well, I take that back. I saw her twice, and the second time it was not so pretty.
Oh gosh!
What happened at that occurrence?
In that occurrence, I thought I was having a dream at the time. We were in bed, and it was probably 2 in the morning, and this little girl came to the side of the bed, and I just remember she was coming to my side of the bed and reaching for me, and when she did that, I'm scared to death, and I'm trying to back up. Well, she grabbed my arm and started pulling me, and as she pulled me, she turned into something that to this day is so hard to describe. I can't, it was almost part human, part animal. It was just weird looking, and it let out this growl at me that I probably need a pacemaker.
Well, when you felt the grab, did it feel like a little girl at first grabbing you? Was it solid? Like, could you feel warmth, human flesh?
It was such a tight grip, and by this point, some of the things that were happening, the little fires, the just feelings I was getting. At this point, I was already hearing scratching in the walls, above the headboard and stuff. Especially whenever I was alone trying to sleep in the house. It didn't seem like something a 5-year-old girl would be doing. And then when I saw her turn into this creature, oh my God.
And the next morning he woke up and he explained this dream that he had had. And it wasn't, but, shortly after that, getting out of bed and starting to go about our day, where he realized he had burn welts on his wrist where where this creature, whatever you want to call it, had pulled him out of bed. There were three, they looked like what would be the fingers of a girl wrapping her hand around his wrist. There were three raised, significantly separate little burns right straight next to each other.
Wow. This is where I have to ask, and I don't know if you ever came to this determination or not. Do you feel that what this little girl was not a little girl? Could it have been what a lot of people would consider to be a negative or demonic haunting? Because a lot of cases that I've heard of, and I'll be honest with you, I've been investigating for a decade now, and I've never come across what I would consider to be a negative case. But in all the cases I've heard of, these real negative entities can appear like a child to gain trust, and then the real nastiness starts. Do you feel that that's what this entity was?
Back then, I wasn't quite sure. I was still solid in the fact that we had this little spirit girl. Tony had been telling me of, some of the dreams he had, the noises that he was hearing, because he worked midnights. I worked during the day. He slept during the day. So he was having a lot more experiences during the day than I was. And, he would tell me some of them, and I'd say, oh, well, you're lacking sleep, because, he wasn't sleeping very well because of the activity going on, or he thought everybody else during the day was up and he should be up. That midnight shift just didn't settle well with him. And so I, was logically trying to say, oh, it's kind of a thing. And as time went on, and, the next couple months went on, and this is what I started to get into a little bit earlier, it started to present to him a little bit differently. The presenting as a little girl didn't win him over. So then it started presenting as,
Well, for example, I was in the bathroom taking a bath, and we had a big clawfoot tub, and things had gotten so bad that I could not shut the door, and just washing my hair was scary for me, because I was scared of what I'd see when, you get soap in your eyes, or, when you open your eyes, you're scared of what's going to be standing in front of you. And this one time in particular, the door was open, and you could see in the hallway, and I'm taking a bath, and I see this woman walk by the hall that looked just like Deb, except she's got her hair up, and she's, once again, wearing older clothing, and almost like a maid from the, I want to say 1800s again. And she walked into another room of the house, and I'm like, what is she doing? So I get out of the tub, and I dry it off, and I go in that room, and nobody's in there. I'm like, huh. So I walk around, and I go in our bedroom. Well, Deb is sitting there, and she's not even dressed yet. She's sitting at her makeup table. Her hair's all down, and she's, I'm like, did you just walk past the hall? And she's like, no, I've been in here the whole time. And I was like, oh, no. And I saw that, it did that 2 particular times in 2 different places in the house. It looked like her when it wasn't. When that didn't seem to work, I started seeing this really kind of negative acting older woman with black hair. I remember she had black laced outfit on with, it was so deep I can even remember a brooch she was wearing. And she was, to me, not very nice. I remember a time in the bedroom, I saw what started to look like just a dark kind of mass at the end corner of the bed, and it started forming. And as it formed, it was coming closer and closer to my side of the bed. And as it got closer, it took the shape of this woman. And as she got around to my side of the bed, she got right up to me, and I just remember her arm shot out like she was going to grab me, and I heard the words, "I'm gonna." And when she said that, it sounded like World War III to me in the bedroom. The door slammed shut. We had 2 tables on each side of the bed. Both drawers flew open and slammed shut, and we had a tall boy dresser at the other end of the room, and the top part of the dresser lifted up about an inch and just spun completely around and slammed back down. Oh, I thought the world was coming to an end. I was so scared. I've never been so scared that I couldn't scream, and that's exactly what happened. I was trying to scream, couldn't get anything to come out, and that made me more scared.
And I'm on the other side of the door, and I'm hearing this very faint, my name, Deb. I mean, very forced. And my first reaction was, "What do you need?" Because I knew he was in there trying to sleep. And there was no answer. And, 10 seconds later, I heard it again. And what? And no answer. And, by the third time, he called out. And, I'm angry at this time. I'm in the other room. I'm dressing the baby. And what the hell do you need? And so I go to the door and I open it up and I'm like, what? And I see him on the bed. He's almost spoiled on the bed on all fours. He's huffing and puffing. His eyes are bugged out of his head. And he's definitely just really freaked out. And then he goes and he explains, he says, "How could you not hear?" And I said, "Hear what?" And then he explained what had happened. And honestly, there was no sound from the outside of that room.
Wow. Oh my God.
I have chills.
Yeah, that type of intense activity. I mean, it just, again, I'm playing, armchair ghost investigator here, but it just sounds like, definitely a negative or demonic type of entity.
Well, and it moved on from that. It obviously was not winning Tony over. He got a little to God. He was seeing a priest every week and, talking with him because he was just having difficulty, dealing with everything. And I wasn't much help because when he'd come to me with these experiences, I'd blame him on, a lack of sleep or, his fear factor going into, because of his Catholic belief, it's got to be, a bad thing. And I'm like, it's just a little girl ghost, I'm kind of, and, I look back now and that's not my nature. I'm more scientific and I ask questions. I mean, you take me to the doctor, and I have like a list of everything that has happened to create the situation and ask, what's going to alleviate it? Why did it occur? What can I do to stop it? I'm question after question. People probably hate talking to me sometimes because I bombard them with so many questions. I want to know everything. I want to know all the details and make my own assessment. And I didn't do that. And so here I'm still clinging to this, it's a little girl ghost, and he's having all these things happen and has no one to turn to, not even his wife.
Tony.
So,
sorry.
Things began to escalate a little bit more. It started to kind of go into a possession state.
That was going to be my next question. I was going to ask Tony if you started to feel like you were having thoughts or emotions that weren't your own, anything violent.
I did really, really bad, and it was almost like the being scared quit. It's like it's so hard to explain because you basically weren't yourself in the house. I just didn't feel the thoughts that came over me. My biggest thought was I really, really, really wanted to hurt Deb. So much so that one morning in particular, I'd planned on I was going to wait for her to come home from work, and I'd planned on slitting her throat when she got home.
Wow, Tony, that is incredible. We're going to take a quick break right now, so hold that thought. We're going to be right back here on Unknown Origins Radio with our interview with Debra and Tony Pickman from the Sallie House Haunting. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Davy Jones from the Monkees, and you're listening to Decadence Radio.
Important events demand exceptional food. At Gourmet Celebrations, we customize our menus to meet your catering needs. Our event planners work with you one-on-one to meet your expectations while remaining within your budget. Our expert chefs offer a wide range of cuisine, from traditional to modern, and our own special creations. Our superb, beautifully presented cuisine will set the right tone for your gathering. Gourmet Celebrations utilizes the fine dining approach to catering, creating one-of-a-kind menus featuring the freshest ingredients prepared to perfection. We're always happy to create personalized recipes and menus just for you. Gourmet Celebrations serves all of New Jersey. To schedule your next event, call us at 862-1903 or visit